everybody, welcome to UKGK TV. My name's Dave Nicholson and I've got our good friend here, Julian. Again, at you, mate. How you doing? You've not been very well, have you, bud?
Yeah, usual nonsense I've put up with. Arthritis.
Getting old.
Oh, yeah.
We're all getting old, mate, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
We're all getting old. We're all getting old. The reason we're here today is Julian's come back to have a chat about some fantastic makeup artists that inspired a lot of garage kits. Jack Pierce?
Main guy, Jack Pierce. I really want to talk about Jack Pierce.
Talk about Jack Pierce, yeah.
There's so many people not even heard of him. I mean, I know a lot of people with what we do have heard of him, but there's so many people haven't heard of him and therefore just don't understand just how influential he was.
He's inspired a lot of model kits.
Oh, that's absolutely.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I just want to show you a few pieces because they don't very often stay on the shelf. Rachel's painted these up and they look amazing. Look at
as always.
Look at that. That's the bat from Fright Night. How good is that? And it says on there, "You're so cool, Brewster." That's what the main guy. That's the main vampire in the movie, and that's the companion piece for the next piece. How good does that look with paint on it? How fantastic! That's
Whenever I see that face, all I hear in my head is Brewster.
You're so cool, Brewster.
Brewster.
That's the one, isn't it? That's the one. That's superb. I mean, these are available. That's, I'd say, would you say life size? Yeah.
Quite good likeness as well, isn't it?
Superb. Absolutely superb. Look at that. That's fantastic. Look at them eyes. That's by a really cool guy in the States.
Not to me, by the way.
Yeah, look at that. But that's by a really cool guy called Gio in the States. Good friend of ours. Check out his stuff. I'm not going to even attempt to say his surname, but I'll put it on at the bottom. But what a fantastic piece that is. Superb. That hangs on your wall, so you just hang that on the wall for your space. If it was me, I'd put the thing underneath.
Yeah.
They are available through this gentleman in the States. Hit him up, have a chat with him. I think I'm going to have a chat with him and see if he'll let me produce this because this is superb. Put the postage down in the US. That's so lifelike. Fantastic likeness. Absolutely fantastic. Next up, new release, guys. It's that time again. American Werewolf in London. Dave Kessler, final scene. Where he's near enough the wolf. It's obviously got a top set of Nashers. Again, I'd say, what size would you say that is, Julian? Roughly? Half scale?
Yeah, half scale. Yeah, quarter scale.
Half scale. It's a great big piece. Fantastic likeness. Andy's gone down a different technique with the air, which I think works. That's Kessler. Well, just before he actually, he's always wanted to do that. I think his project was to put real air on it, but he's gone with the different. Obviously, there's teeth with it.
It's before the jaw starts to and the nose starts to elongate.
Yeah. Dave Kessler, really nice. I think he's done virtually everything out there now, apart from the Demon, which is hopefully I think planned because it's one of my favourites. But that's Andy Copeland. So this now is available. Once you watch this video, this one will be in production. The mould's done. It's a real chunky piece. Nice logo on the back there. American Werewolf in London. It'll be spun cast, and it'll be, I'd say, 10 inches tall, 12 inches tall.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
It's got, Andy Copeland again has delivered American Werewolf thing. It's really, really cool. So there your new releases, guys. What we're going to do now is we've got Julian in. He's popped along for us to have a chat. He's picked some stuff up. He's a mad fanatical Universal Monsters. To all the people out there to say I don't like Universal. I do like Universal. It's not my favourite. So it's definitely Julian's favourite. I'm just going to talk today about Jack Pierce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've put my glasses on, by the way. I didn't have my glasses last time. So that's why I was totally off the top of my head what I was coming out with. But I want to try and be a bit more structured today. Yeah, regards to Jack P. Pierce, he retained his he retained his Greek surname because he was originally from Greece. Born in 1886 in Laconia, Greece. That's where he came from. I think why people not necessarily diss the guy, but will say I'm not really into Universal films is because obviously, undoubtedly, they are dated today.
Yeah,
they are dated, but the techniques that we used at the time for the makeups were just absolutely astounding when you consider that a lot of what we have today.
Well, it's not the materials weren't there, were they?
Exactly that. You've just basically finished what I was going to say. Yeah, the material. That's right. The materials that we've had, well, certainly for the last 40 plus years, weren't there 70, 80 years
Totally
ago.
revolutionised it, didn't
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, he was Greek. Actually, 1889 he was born, and at the turn of the century, like many people across Europe, Italy and Greece, emigrated to the States to find a new life. And that's what he did with his family. He was hunting for various jobs and various careers, and he started off as a baseball player.
Did he?
Of all things.
American baseball player.
American baseball
Well,
player.
There you go. There's a bit of trivia, guy.
Started off as a baseball player, but he was quite small in stature, which made him fairly.
Is it a guy? He's got a little pencil moustache, hasn't
Well,
he?
this is it. I've got some pictures to bring of him. This book, by the way, if anybody is interested, this is basically
That's
the guy
still available.
about.
There he is.
Yeah. Jack Pierce, Hollywood's makeup master.
He looks like a matinee idol there, doesn't he? He looks like the old matinee idol, the old...
So the guy in the middle is Jack P. Pierce, and here's some of the makeup effects for various actors that he did throughout his career as a makeup artist, which we're going to be talking about. The main one in particular being Boris on the back here, being fitted up for Bride of Frankenstein. Okay, so yeah, emigrated to the States, started off as a baseball player, but was told he wasn't particularly good. All right, what you got to bear in mind, this is early cinema. I mean, this is early movies. This is silent movies. You know, we're talking 1915, 1916. Chaplin's cutting his teeth. Yeah. He starts off as a theatre manager, cinema manager, just running a cinema, and it's just by watching the films thinking, how can I get into this industry? Is there any possible opening for me to get into? Being quite physically fit, although small in stature, there were studios looking for stuntmen. Then he actually got involved in taking pratfalls for actors who just didn't want to risk injury.
Wow!
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he was in a stuntman, but then he started looking at the amount of actors who, after shooting a couple of scenes, their hair, they're usually the wigs, and their false beards, which weren't particularly well fitted.
Yeah.
Were looking somewhat dishevelled. So he'd go over and he'd say, "Can I just stop? Can I just straighten that for you?"
Yeah.
And so he got a reputation as being the guy to go to if your wig didn't look very good.
So he'd fix it.
He fixed it.
He fixed it. Yeah.
So he's very quickly picked up how to basically sort out somebody's fairly at the time basic makeup.
Yeah, applications. Yeah.
Of course, then Lon Chaney comes on the scene, the first actor to do his own makeup. The first person who wouldn't panic and say, "Cut, stop, I can't, there's something not right, my moustache is hanging off." Right, because he did all his own makeup.
Yeah.
And it was, again, we've talked about Lon Chaney so many times before, but if there'd been no Lon Chaney, there'd have been no Jack Pierce, which will come
and then that domino effect.
There'd be no Rick Baker.
There'd be no Rick Baker, there'd be no Stan Winston, there'd be no Dick Smith, there'd be none of them, would they?
Yeah, back to American Wolf in London, Kessler there. There'd be none of that.
Yeah.
We can introduce that because American Wolf in London is very relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Within this particular,
they're all connected.
Video.
I mean, I mean, I know Rick Baker is one of my favourites, and Stan Winston, and all them sort of guys. But you're deeply steeped into your Universal, aren't you? So it's about history, isn't it?
I just think. Yeah, I am, but it just all goes back to that.
Yeah.
Like we said before, I love My Hammer, which was influenced by Universal. I love what Rick Baker did, influenced by Universal. I love what Dick Smith did. I mean, Rob Bottin, all of them.
Yeah.
You know, but they all go back to Jack Pierce. But we have to mention Lon Chaney. So Jack Pierce is watching films that Chaney's made. Very quickly realizes, oh, he did his own makeup. So from a few basic materials, you can build up a makeup kit, and then you can apply your own appliances. So that's the next thing he did. He would then be on set and he'd say, "Yeah, let me help you out with that," and that would come a little bit of putty, a little bit of wire, just some basic foundation. So he got a reputation for this. So much so that Carl Laemmle, who, as we know, was the founder of Universal Pictures, which later became Universal Studios, hired him to do a makeup which was actually really the first attempt at doing a simian makeup. And I can just hold that up.
Now you're talking.
That's from the 1926 film The Monkey Talks. And that's a French actor called Jacques Lernier.
That's fantastic.
Now, if that makeup looks familiar, it's because 42 years later, it was one of the things that influenced John Chambers' design of Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Okay. But think about this. This is 1926.
Wow.
And that's quite revolutionary.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the guy, Caesar from Roddy McDowell.
Absolutely.
From Escape from Planet
Absolutely.
of the Apes. If that's kind of, yes, definitely, you can see the inspiration.
Yeah.
The reason we're talking about these guys is it is connected to garage kits because if these guys didn't do this, we wouldn't be doing garage kits. But to me, that has got Roddy McDowell all over.
Absolutely.
Superb. That's superb.
Yeah.
Mate.
So yeah, Jacques Lernier. There isn't a lot of information as to how he actually designed that makeup, and this was in the days when there were no rubber prosthetics, so it remains a mystery. There's actually an even better picture on the front of the book here.
Is that
of Jacques Lernier again?
Yeah.
And that's the ape again. That's Jacques Lernier again.
I'll look at that while you're talking. Yeah, see, that's fantastic. That is superb. That is absolutely. This is a great. Is this still available? This book?
Yes, yeah, it's available on Amazon.
Right. What's I think I know what my Christmas present will be. This is a Jack Pierce Hollywood's makeup master, and it's available through Centerline Publishing, and it's available on Amazon. And how much is this one, mate?
I think it was 20 quid.
That's
But
steal.
well worth every penny.
Steal that.
Well worth every penny.
Steal.
I'm just actually looking for a
Check it
picture.
out.
I had all these in order, but you know what it's like.
Check.
You go from-
We're men, aren't we? We're not. we're never that organised.
Yeah, I've got it now.
We're never that
organised.
organised.
I've got it. Yeah. So he was hired to, like I say, to do Jacques Lernier's makeup to turn him into an ape. Carl Lemley was that impressed with it. He then gave Jack Pierce the full-time job.
Yeah.
Okay. And his first major makeup, having been appointed as head of the makeup department at Universal Pictures, was for Conrad Veidt.
If that's not the joke,
In a role
if
that we
that's
mentioned
not,
before, absolutely, yeah,
that's
it
not
is.
inspired
It
the
was
Joker.
the influence for the Joker.
if that's not inspired the
Yep,
Joker, I
that's
don't know
right.
what
It
is.
was the influence for the Joker.
That's superb.
Okay.
That. Just look at that. That's that. If you put that in a film now, even now as the Joker, that would be so scary. That's superb. That is superb. So, guys, it is important that these guys are notified. They're given the credit. But yeah, I mean, to me, that wouldn't be out of place in a Nolan film, would it?
Without a doubt.
No, superb. That man. So that was his first piece, was it?
1928, The Man Who Laughs was his first major makeup, where not only was he doing the makeup for Conrad Veidt, but he was doing a lot of the wigs and the makeups for the other cast members. And the interesting thing is, I mean, there is a kit available of this. I have seen it, where it's Conrad Veidt in the makeup chair. Jack Pierce is standing over. There's quite a few of these ones that they did with Karloff and Chaney in their roles as the Frankenstein monster and the Wolfman. But there's one where Jacques Lernier, not Jacques Lernier, Conrad Veidt's in the chair, and Pierce has already done the makeup on his face, but he's actually tending to the wig that he had on at the time. The effect with this effectively meant that Conrad Veidt was playing a role where there was no speech whatsoever involved, because his mouth had to be wired up either side to make it into that permanent grin. So it was very much a pantomime performance, where it was really just expression,
Right. Okay.
with face and with hands. Okay,
Superb.
so quite an arduous makeup. Okay, we briefly talked about Bela Lugosi in 1931, which, as we know, was the first horror movie to be made with sound, first horror movie talking, and the issues that were involved there with Lugosi and Pierce not getting on particularly well because Lugosi wanted to do his own makeup. So that's why Pierce wasn't credited. He's uncredited. There's no over the credits. There's no mention of who did any makeup at all.
On the
Lugosi Dracula. And the only involvement that Pierce had was suggesting a white grease paint which Lugosi didn't feel was necessary. How he did, however, add a little bit of a widow's peak to the front of his hairline.
Yeah.
Which certainly made a difference, because that was something Lugosi didn't really bother using when he was on Broadway on the stage. But in the movie adaptation, there's a little bit of a widow's peak showing at the front, and that was really the only thing that Pierce got to do.
Right.
So there ain't much to mention about that. However, and I know we've got pieces. We've got a piece on the shelf behind us, which I got off Dave a few months ago and painted up. Got the Lugosi one off you.
Yeah.
And I got the Karloff Frankenstein one. Okay, which I did. I put some pictures on the UK page for that.
They're the half scale ones by Darren Harvey. We also do a third scale by Joe Bailey, where he's got his kind of hand like that. That's quite a nice one, which you haven't got yet.
No. No. So the first major, when I say major makeup, was for the other horror film that was made in 1931, and that was, of course...
Now, this is the one that everybody quite rightly sort of recognises. This is the Karloff Frankenstein monster. Frankenstein's monster, to be correct.
Frankenstein's monster.
To be correct. Now, this is the one that kind of... Would you say it give him sort of worldwide acclaim? Was this the one that sort of elevated him up to legend status? Would you say that?
With regards to Pierce being recognised by other movie studios, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt, because they just hadn't got a clue as to how he achieved this. And it was quite remarkable. Again, when he was doing this in 1931, there was no rubber appliances. They hadn't been invented yet. Okay. We talked about this before, but we'll just briefly go over it again. The whole brow part up to the top of the head was built up. So this bit from
here, was that
was all built up using layers of effectively cotton and spirit gum to glue it together, and collodion, which is an awful chemical stuff which dries like plastic, but the fumes that it gives off
must be no health and safety in them days.
None whatsoever. Caustic, burn your skin.
They use caustic,
Well, the actual chemical could actually, was a skin irritant. It could actually burn your skin. We've said before about how Boris was so cooperative in helping Jack Pierce when he was applying the makeup, but also in the design of it. This is a great shot illustrating the sunken cheek, which
it's a good still. That it's a really good photograph. That
Well, actually, this is one of the first close-ups in the film. If you remember, he comes through the door backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he slowly shuffles round. And then James Well got the cameraman to do 3 shots of the camera zooming in, like 1, 2, 3. So you can imagine that by the third shot, which was really close up on the eyes, showing with the heavy eyelids that were created by using mortician's wax, the audiences were just freaking out, by this third take. And this one of him looking up is when they first go to open up the skylight in the top of the roof, and he's looking up. He's looking up because the light's got his attention, and then that classic scene where he's reaching out of his arms, as he can see the light. But this is when his eyes gradually just shift to start looking up towards the ceiling of the laboratory. But yeah, I mean, this was a tremendous makeup, which became copyrighted by Universal, so much so that Nova Studio, particularly the Hammer Studio, when they were producing theirs, Frankenstein, they couldn't go anywhere near this particular makeup.
There has been 1 or 2 Frankenstein kits out there, haven't there?
Yeah, just a few over the years. Yeah, just a few over the years. Well, so much so that the point I made about the scene where he shuffles through the door and turns round, and he stood in the doorway and he's got his left hand up against the door holding it open. Well, that was done by Polar Lights.
Yeah, there's hundreds, mate.
Yeah,
there's hundreds of them.
The Polar Lights one, and go on about so much. I mean, not just the resin kits, but actually, the styrene kits. There's so many, there's so many different ones.
I think, to be fair, I think there's been and it sells. So the guys, they sell. So fair play, fair play. Now this one that you're going to fetch up now,
always busy in the studio.
Right. If you look at this, this is obviously Jack in it, applying the makeup or touching the makeup up. This kit itself was done by a company. It was basically Karloff and Jack Pierce.
Yeah.
And it was done by a company called Janus. Now this kit now is very, very difficult to get hold of in its Janus form. It was slightly expensive when it came out compared to others, but now it's worth on the secondary market ridiculous amount of money. So this kit, it's superb. You know what I mean? It was. I think it was sculptured by Thomas Kuntz for Janus.
Yeah.
And now the rights have gone over to another gentleman, which the guys in from the States will probably put in the comments below. If you can find this kit, it's 1/6 scale and he's in the barber's chair. An original Janus, you can be expected to pay upwards of $800-900, or you used to. I don't know now when it's been reissued whether it's retained its value. There was a company in Ireland that fetched a bust out, but I don't know. I don't know who's doing this bust now of Jack Pierce behind Karloff. I don't know whether they're still doing this bust. It could be one of several companies that they're connected with that do this, sculpted by Jaeger. So basically, this is represented now. A good friend of mine, Mike Hill, quite rightly admired Jack, and he used to do life-size ones of these, and he's done some fantastic life-size.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one on a mummy that he did? That's superb.
Yeah.
Mike loved Jack Pierce, and you can see why, can't you? Because he's obviously an inspiration. He was a genius on his time. The guy was. I think we kind of forget about these type of people and go straight to Karloff's, but really, this guy created the monster.
Absolutely.
This guy created that. So this is represented in several formats, like a bust format, which I believe is still available. I'm not sure which company's doing it now because he was shuffling around with who was doing what, but it's out there somewhere. The kit, it was originally done by Janus, and it's done, I think it's been reissued by another company in the States, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. But there are versions of this out there.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. This picture in particular confirms the way that Pierce created the sunken cheek area. You can clearly see that Karloff he's sucking his cheek in. He's sucking his cheek in so that Jack can actually apply the dark makeup just on the inside there. You can actually see where he's applying the dark makeup. But Karloff is definitely sucking his cheek in to allow him to create that area. Do we know who this
gentleman is, or do we not know?
I don't know. Well, I did know, but memory doesn't always serve you. But he was Jack's.
He looks
assistant.
almost. I mean, if you just pull it back a sec.
Yeah.
He looks almost surgeon-like, doesn't he, with these smocks, doesn't he? I love it.
That's how he used to dress. That was exactly it.
Looks great, like a surgeon, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Looks like very clinical, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. That became an issue. He was very methodical, very precise. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to the point of obsession, where if somebody came into his studio when he was working, you wouldn't politely ask them to leave. He would just very. Abruptly. I don't know if it's a Greek thing. I mean, because Greek people can tend to be quite passionate in the way they say things, and I think the fact that he was learning the English language as well, it could be very, very abrupt and very stern. Karloff never had an issue with him. We know about that. They built up a great relationship. Lon Chaney Jr. certainly had an issue with him, which we can touch on again later. But I love this, and there is a great piece that's been created on this one.
There's a great figure and there's a great bust. They're both good. One with the bust is Jeff Jaeger, and the figure was sculpted by Thomas Kuntz. Which check them out, guys. They're great.
Another interesting point before we move on to the next makeup that he designed is just to mention that there was an issue with this where it would take 4 hours to put on and nearly 2 hours to take off. So Boris said, was there any way they could possibly leave the makeup on overnight? Because you're going to be back in the studio within a few hours. Pierce wasn't very happy about this, but when he found 2 blocks of wood, he said, take them home with you. And if you promise to lie on your back with a piece of wood either side of your head so you can't move your head, then yes, I'll let you. So he actually slept. He said, don't lie on your side because you can mess the makeup up, but if you can lie on your back between 2 blocks of wood, with your head between 2 blocks of wood, then yeah, I'll let you. And that's what he did. So the sacrifices you have to make. And
to be famous. Iconic.
And sometimes we just complain about having a lumpy mattress.
Well, yeah, there is always that, mate. There is always that.
Try your head between 2 blocks of wood.
But yeah.
Okay, so basically, we know that Boris was an unknown actor 1931 Frankenstein, but by 1932, when they were looking to bring out another creature film, he was the go-to guy because he had no issue with spending hours in the makeup chair. So we then went on to The Mummy.
Yeah.
This is an absolutely mad makeup, and there is a kit that's been done of it.
Loads.
Yeah, there's been loads of kits done of this one, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Karloff as the Mummy.
That's Karloff as the Mummy. In a scene which doesn't even last 5 minutes.
No.
You know, so he's spending nearly 5 hours being made up in bandages that were baked to give them that old
crispy look.
That old crispy,
yeah,
weathered look. Dirt basically just brushed over him.
Right, now this is where I've seen this now, because Mike, I keep going on about Mike.
Yeah.
Mike actually did there's a still of him painting the dirt on.
Yes.
And Mike did a life-size piece of it, which looked fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great,
the wrinkle effect on the face was done by that time, latex had been invented to start making appliances by this time, and this was a latex that was put on and then speed dried with a hairdryer to make it wrinkle up. To actually make it wrinkle up on the face.
Health and safety is well at work.
Yeah.
Universal Studios.
And it certainly wasn't as refined as the latex that they went on to use several years later, but it was just a basic form they were able to get away with. Again, another picture of Boris being made up. I just love the way he's casually just having a cup of tea while the lady is tending to his bandages.
They're the best, aren't they? They're the best pictures. Really.
And the arm outstretched is Jack, again speed drying the material he's put on over the bandages with a hairdryer. Again, you can see that. I just love that outstretched arm using a hairdryer. Yeah.
The casualness of it.
And I imagine electric hairdryers hadn't been out very long by 1931.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Yes, good. These are stills that I've never seen.
And to think we use them to this day to speed dry our acrylic paints, don't we? You know.
There's a connection, guys. There's a connection.
There we go. Just two more from this one. Again, this illustrates applying the latex to Boris's skin. I mean, he's already done his face. I mean, if you just look at the face there. Again, it's this Karloff's ability to just patiently sit there and allow all this to be done to him. Okay.
And then go and act.
For any of you who've seen the 1931 Mummy film, you'll recall that he actually turns into pretty much how he would have looked before he was mummified, although you can see that, not ignoring the fact he's supposed to be over 2,000 years old, this again shows the wrinkle effect on the skin.
And what's his character?
Ardef Bey.
Now, we do a bust of this by Paul Fay, so check that one out, guys. That's a third scale, and we do this actual character.
Yeah.
I wanted him to say, because I didn't want to make a mess of calling it.
It's either Ardef or Ardaf.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
It sounds like Ardef in the film.
I didn't really want to.
But it's spelled with an A.
Yeah, I didn't really want to make a mess of pronouncing it.
Ardath.
I didn't want to make a mess of pronouncing it, so I'd let you do that.
Yeah. I'd go for Ardaf, but I've heard certain actors in the film refer to it as Ardef. I'd have to listen out carefully for how Boris says it in his classic English lisp.
There you go then.
I just love Boris Karloff's voice. Okay. Is there a kit of Henry Hull?
Yeah.
1936.
Again, Janice did it. He's kind of Mike Hill. I'm sure Mike sculpted that. Yeah, I'm sure he did. Yeah. That's character perfect.
Yeah. We're jumping a year here, but it don't matter. It just happened to have came up. Okay. Lon Chaney Jr.'s makeup design for the Wolfman, 1941. Pearce had already came up with it.
Yeah.
And was ready to apply it to Henry Hull in 1936 for.
It's got the kind of Wolfman look about it, hasn't it?
Yeah, for Werewolf of London, he already had the makeup ready, but Henry Hull insisted on having a makeup that allowed him to be more expressive with his face.
Yeah.
So all we've really got
is less, isn't it? It's less than the Wolfman. It's like a
absolutely.
It's like a toned down version, isn't it?
Yeah. You probably recognise the teeth, which were to pop up again.
Yeah. For
Lon Chaney Jr.'s makeup, but other than a slight adaptation to the nose and the brow and around the mouth area, and obviously the pointy ears and the wig, you can very clearly see that a lot of Henry's face is still exposed, which is what he insisted on. But still a great makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a scene where he's changing. I mean, it's amazing how they did it, because with a lot of the transformation scenes where they would apply a little bit of makeup, shoot a frame of film, apply another bit, shoot a frame of film, and you gradually see it dissolve from one thing to another. There's actually a scene in the film where he's actually walking forward, and as he's walking, you can see it changing. So that was an incredible
In them
effect.
days, that must
did.
have been amazing.
Incredible effect, yeah, incredible effect.
There is a kit of this, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There is. And there's one of them wearing a cap as well. He has a cap as well.
That's it.
Yeah. I do remember seeing that. Okay. For a lot of the Universal Monster fans, probably the best makeup in the best Universal Monster film, in my opinion anyway, is certainly this one. So we're now 1935, we're 4 years on.
Right.
Okay.
That's an iconic picture, and you see that on T-shirts everywhere, don't you?
Yeah.
That it must be. I must have seen that nearly a million times.
Mugs, T-shirts, pin badges.
Yeah, superb.
Kits.
Iconic, isn't it? It's
Busts.
yeah, superb.
This Mike Hill's done a couple of these.
Yeah.
There's a kit of when that came out. I think it was Mobius or Polar Lights brought it out. On the chair of Elsa Lanchester. Yeah. That was taken. That was taken directly from a photograph, which we're going to have a look at.
That's a styrene plastic one.
Guys. Yeah. This for me is the all time.
That's what you see on your Frankenstein T-shirt.
Yeah. And this was, in my opinion, Jack Pierce's crowning achievement in all the makeups that he did.
Yeah.
The attention to detail is just incredible. I said before about these 3 different makeups applied to Boris here. This is initially the first one when he manages to get out from the mill, from the ruins of the mill, after he's been in the fire. So you got the cheek burn, you got the singed hair, exposing the clamps around the top of the head, down the side, and they run all the way around the back. But as the film progresses, his hair grows back more, and the burn on the skin, the burn on the cheek, and the burns on his hands become less visible because the healing as the film progresses. So I mean, Jack Pierce didn't have to do that. He could have left it the same all the way through, but I thought, no, if he's healing, then I'm going to basically change the makeup.
So he was fanatical, wasn't he?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
It's a good one.
A sneaky look here.
To me, that's the one that you see everywhere. That's kind of like everywhere. I remember having a T-shirt with that on. So if you're into your Frankenstein, that would be the look. And it to be fair, it is an iconic look. It does look great.
Now we say greatest makeup achievement, but probably the most iconic makeup of any female actress that Jack Pierce worked on has to be Elsa Lanchester as the bride.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, it doesn't make any sense.
No. No, well, yeah.
It does not make any sense. But you go, oh yeah, Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah,
it's
brilliant.
Iconic, isn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you something? What colours of hair?
Red.
There you go.
She had
so
red
for
hair.
all you painting garage kits out there, this isn't black, it's red. And I guess that's white.
Yep. Red hair. The white put in, I don't know whether it's supposed to represent lightning bolts. I have no idea whatsoever. Okay. But it was actually Elsa's own hair. She had a wire cage fitted to the back of her head.
Wow.
And her hair was combed back over it. So she had a lot of hair to work with. Okay. And again, Jack was a renowned, not only a renowned makeup artist, but he was good with wigs and good with hair. And he basically said, I don't have to design you a wig. I know exactly what to do with your hair. The following day, he brings in a wire cage that he'd made overnight and attached it to the back of her head and, combed her own hair over the top of it.
Superb.
Okay.
Now, connecting this to garage kits, there's a life-size 1-to-1 boss coming out from Prestige Studios, Matt Walls.
Yes.
And that's sculpted by Jeff Yeager. And that's fantastic, guys. Excellent. Love it. Yeah. Love it.
The scar that runs either side of her ear, down the bottom of her, underneath her jawline, and up the other side. Again, this is one of the things that Pierce did. He took over 3 hours to do that scar. It's hardly noticed in the film.
Yeah.
And it only really, directly under the jawline, only appears in one scene for about 4 seconds, where she just basically lifts her head up, cranes her neck, and hisses.
Yeah.
you know, so he probably could have. Well, I think Elsa Lanchester actually commented he probably could have got that from a just a store, a regular store. He could have got something, but no, he spent hours and hours and hours. I wish they'd do one of this. I wish they'd do a kit of that. I mean, there we got Elsa touching up her lipstick while Jack's insisting on looking on to make sure that he doesn't.
There is a kit of her in like a casual pose like that. I'm not sure it's that exact pose, but I'll check it out and show it you when we finish.
Yeah. I just love that.
Very nice.
I just love the way he's basically watching what she's doing just to make sure that she doesn't mess up any of his work. But I do like that. I do like that. Just a little bit more from Bride of Frankenstein, and that is the one. That's the kit that came out.
That's the kit, the Mobius one. The Mobius one.
Yeah, and it was sculpted by Jeff Yeager. That's the one. Sat on the chair.
Of course, yeah. Superb.
Yeah.
Superb.
Shortly after which he says, "She hates me."
That's it. Yeah.
Like the others.
Yeah.
I just love that. Yeah. Again, one I've got on my shelf that I keep meaning to get back off and finish, but I've done a fair bit on it.
Nice kit, that.
That's just a great picture to do a kit from, isn't it? It just says so much, doesn't it?
Yeah. I wish it had been 1/6 scale though. It's quite a bit too small on it, but there you go.
I think when they do these styrene kits, they seem to be very much influenced by what Aurora did.
Yeah. When
it comes to size,
yeah,
it's like they don't want to do anything bigger.
No.
Which frustrates me.
1/6 would have been nice. But
absolutely.
It's not a shelf burster.
It frustrates me. Yeah.
So which one's this one we got now, mate? This is.
Well, we're just going to come on to Son of Frankenstein, but again, I think this would be a wonderful kit. Again, Jack Pierce doing his thing with the hairpiece. I just love the way that Boris is casually sat there, legs crossed, smoking a cigarette. You know, Lon Chaney Jr. couldn't get out of the chair quick enough, whereas Boris is quite happy to sit here and
read the paper,
relax himself, just relax, smoke a cig.
But it's not what us Brits do. We're chilled, aren't we? Most of the time.
Take your time, Jack. Take your time.
Yeah.
No rush.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. Just brilliant. Son of Frankenstein, which was the last of Karloff's 3 films that he made, 1939. This I keep saying this kit's available. I know that because I've got one. There was
Geometric did one.
Yes, the Geometric one is exactly the one that I was going to mention.
Again.
Where he's actually got hold of.
Mike, you're getting some mentions. You must have been
the Geometric one.
Yeah. Nice
Absolutely,
one.
yeah. With the big fluffy sheepskin. Sheepskin woolly vest. The reason why I produced a colour one is because this is actually from a colour test footage that they did.
So it was green?
Yeah. If anybody asks what colour makeup,
it was
basically what colour's the Frankenstein monster? Well, the only reason why it was green is because Jack Pierce used that colour, which when filmed in monochrome, black and white, just gave this deathly grey look. Okay. The reason why they shot this test footage is because at Universal, the execs said, can we not make it in colour? You know, we've got Gone with the Wind that's came out in 1939. We've got Gone with the Wind made in colour. You know, we've got... I mean, there's three great films. You've got Gone with the Wind, you've got The Wizard of Oz, and Son of Frankenstein in 1939.
Brilliant.
Okay. So we have 25 minutes of The Wizard of Oz in black and white, turns to colour.
Yeah.
Obviously, what difference that made. Gone with the Wind made in colour. Universal wanted to make this in colour, but Jack Pierce, again, Mr. Insistent, could have changed the colour of his makeup, didn't want to. Up to the point where he said, well, I'm not going to work. This is what I use. It works.
Yeah.
So that's why the film remained in black and white.
Oh.
Okay.
Didn't know that.
Okay. Bela Lugosi, we talked about him not getting any lead roles from 1931 Dracula onwards. He did have some standout roles, however, and I believe this to be his probably second greatest role.
Igor.
As Igor. Mm-hmm. Where by this time he understood that you basically have to sit in Jack Pierce's chair and just allow him to get on with what he does.
Because he sort of submitted to it.
He submitted to it, yeah.
He looks like a guy from Manchester on a Friday night.
How many of these do we see?
Couple of tins. Couple of tinnies, doesn't he, on Friday night outside Manchester?
How many of these do we see? Yeah. Okay, so we got some gnarly teeth that look quite similar to fangs. As we know, he didn't have any fangs in Dracula, but he got what appeared to be fangs. the first time that Jack used yak hair for the beard and for creating most of the lower part of the wig effect.
So if you know this guy and he's around your town on a Friday night, please let us know.
Yeah, and the other one, again,
Yeah.
just patiently sitting there. I need to accept now that these guys have got to be allowed to get on with the work. This is quite good because it shows the broken neck effect, which again was a rubber appliance that was attached to Bella's neck with a strap that ran underneath his armpit to keep it in place.
Wow.
And I think the
things
reason
he used to do is
yeah.
unbelievable, isn't
I think
it?
the reason for that was because he had an issue with the spirit gum
Yeah.
that Jack was using, so he said, "Well, I'll have to just strap it and just hope it stays in place." With the wig applied and the beard, it tend to hide anywhere where it wasn't quite holding as it should have done.
So that's your ego, is it? Yeah.
That's the ego. Okay, let me just grab a drink. Grab a drink a second.
So basically, these are the films we're going through, guys, that have inspired a lot of model kits. So, I mean, here you go. We're coming into the next one now, which is a Joe Bailey classic. This came out probably 20 years ago, and this was like a screen grab of the film where he's got the lady, and she's kind of, there you go, he's got a lady in his arms. This sold it particularly well in them days. It's still available. It's a big kit. It has a massive tree that we can't get on camera in a minute, but there you go. He's halfway through painting this.
Working upside down here. Where's it?
That's the way it goes.
There we go. Something like that.
Yeah, and then the tree comes behind it here. So that one's still available. If anybody wants it, give us a shout. Sculpted by Joe Bailey, 1/6 scale. Quite popular with the American market when it first came out. Lovely piece, lovely piece. Superb.
The lady, by the way, the character Gwen Taylor was played by Evelyn Ankers, who appeared in quite a few of the Universal horror films. And at first, she didn't get on particularly well with Lon Chaney because...
Sounds quite hard to get on with, doesn't he, him?
Yeah, he was. He was, yeah. Yeah.
Difficult man.
Yeah, but he could be funny, and that was it. It was the pranks that he used to play on her.
All right.
He really got into character. But even before the camera started rolling, he'd be sneaking up behind her and just scaring the living daylights out of her. But once she got used to it, basically that it was his sense of humour, having been influenced by a couple of sips from the hip flask.
Okay. So he liked a sherbet.
Yeah, he likes his sherbet. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, the basic goes behind it. I mean, this is one that I'm working. I bought this off Dave a few weeks back that I'm working on. Yeah, like, I mean, the detail is absolutely amazing on this.
Massive, isn't it? The base.
It's a dry brusher's dream because I love dry brushing. I love weathering and dry brushing. So to bring up the ground effect and
lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, the bark on the tree and everything. I mean, I know the light don't particularly well, but
superb.
This will be on a certainly
doing a good job of that, mate. I can't wait to see that one finished.
Thank you very much. The one will be certainly looking forward to taking some pictures of. Yeah, brilliant. So I'm always torn between my favourite character. I mean, it's got to be the Frankenstein monster simply because of the way he was played by Boris Karloff. It has to be, and the backstory behind just how appreciative he was at getting the gig, and that it gave him a career for life.
Yeah.
At nearly 50 years of age, considering giving up acting, he's then given this part, which gives him a career for life, of which he's able to carry on acting for another 30 plus years. It's just quite incredible. But yes, my second favourite has to be Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Again, a very complex makeup simply because of the way in which it had to be applied and the amount of issues that it created within Jack's studio between the two of them. As I said before, Lon wasn't the most patient of men. Yeah. And Jack really wanted whoever he was working on to just sit there and let him get on with his job, which is something that wasn't that easy. And this is a picture I refer to quite a lot. Now, you could say they're playing to the cameras.
Yeah.
But there's something there. You can tell in his eyes that basically Lon's saying, if you don't hurry up and get this finished, I'm going to clobber you.
I'll tell you the story about this. When I went to Florida a few years ago with Rachel, we went into a fancy dress shop, and there was actually an appliance that was the Wolfman. You know, this appliance. It was like the hair and stuff. And what you did is you glued it on your face. Now, we used to do prosthetic makeup for people, and we used to make ourselves up. Now, I asked Rachel to do me as this character, and she did it, stuck it all on, did the nose, and then as soon as I seen it in the mirror, I went, "No, you're gonna have to take it off." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I look like I should be on a list somewhere, so we want this off."
yeah.
We need this off straight away. I don't look good.
Yeah.
It's not a good look for me, that. But
Yeah.
it's great, isn't it? It's a great. Now, I'm going to ask you another question.
Yeah.
What colour should the wolf be? Go on. Be careful how you say what you say.
Right. I don't really have a problem. I don't really have a problem with this one because if you look at colour photographs of yaks, which is basically like a big cow, okay, which come from Nepal and other parts of India.
Yeah.
Okay. They basically are like a mid-brown.
But you do brown wolf man.
I do a brown wolf man, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like brown wolf man.
You don't like brown? Go on then.
I like the grey. I like it grey and really dark brown. I like grey wolves. But there you go. It's all. But that's me. We had it. So which do you prefer, guys? Is it like a brown wolf man, or do you like the grey, more grey look? That's mine. He's brown. I'm more grey. Let us know in the comments below.
How many times have we talked about what colour were these things?
Well, it's for the viewers, isn't it? Because
yeah.
So that's that one. What's the next one?
What's that one? Well, again, I just want to mention the rubber appliance. This was the first time. This was the first time that Jack relented and thought, "I'm going to have to use a rubber appliance because I cannot be using cotton and collodion that this close to somebody's nose, effectively covering his nose." So there's 4 stages of makeup there. You can basically see in stage 2 clearly where the rubber appliance has been applied to Lon's face. Okay. Lon Chaney Jr. again goes to Frankenstein. Okay.
Do you wish to prefer Karloff or
Karloff all day. He was the only one who could do it.
Yeah.
He was the only one.
It kind of looks. It's not as impressive. If you ask me.
If you think
it's nice, but it's not as impressive.
If you think the whole purpose of the makeup was to allow the majority of the face to be left uncovered, so that the actor could express himself, but none of the other actors did.
It kind of looks like he'd. It's not for me.
None of them did.
It's not as good. I mean, it's like kind of like if you got Frankenstein off Wish, innit?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Lon just didn't want to. He didn't want to play the part. He wasn't interested. He was like, the Wolfman was enough. Again, it was another. I've got to sit there in that makeup chair again. But there was nobody else at the time. There was nobody else. Boris, after Son of Frankenstein, said, "I'm done. I'm too old. I need to get out of this. I want to look at other things." Yeah. So there was nobody else. There was nobody else. So he stepped up. So credit to him there, but he just stumbled around for an hour and 20 minutes.
Not my favourite.
Couldn't get out of it.
Not my favourite. But there you go, guys.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not mine either. Absolutely. We have a kit based on, don't we? Which is on my list.
Right, there's several kits of this scene. One of them we do ourselves, and Troy Neymar does in the United States of America. That was sculpted by Jeff Yeager, and the Wolfman is jumping down on him, so it's the opposite. This was originally done. It was a kit that was basically a grab of that screen. That was done by Monsters in Motion many years ago, and it wasn't massively big, but ours is done by Jaeger, and it's a big chunky piece, and I'll get some pictures for Julian later. But it's based on this particular struggle, innit?
Yeah, and the one you mentioned, it's in like the final scene.
Yeah.
They've already put the dynamite on the dam. The water's running down towards the mill.
That's it.
It's about to come crashing through the wall.
That's it.
Lon's about to finally jump off the top of like a shelf that he's climbed up onto. That's the kit, isn't it? And there's Bella with his arms outstretched. That typical arms outstretched look, which became the way the Frankenstein monster should walk, which obviously we know is just nonsense because Bella was playing him as a blind creature. all the brain swapping that we talked about. But again, here we go. Total miscasting. Originally, Lon was going to play both parts. But as we said before, it wouldn't have worked. And again, I can't endure two different makeups.
Yeah.
I can't do it. You have to bring somebody else in. So at the age of nearly 61, Bella swallowed his pride. But totally miscast to the point where it was only used for the close-ups.
Right, okay.
The action scenes, including the fight scene at the end, and any other scene that required any physical exertion, those were carried out by 2 actors. You can clearly see that is not Bela Lugosi. No. Okay, that is a stuntman called Gil Perkins, who actually stood in for Bella. But he wasn't the only one. In the scene where Larry Talbot, Lon Chaney Jr.'s Larry Talbot, first discovers the monster trapped in the ice.
God, it doesn't look anything like him,
No.
does it?
That's Ed Parker. So, when you think about that, Jack Pierce had to apply 3 sets of Frankenstein monster makeup to 3 different guys.
And he's put the little beauty spot on every one.
Yeah, it turned into a beauty spot. The hollow in the cheek only worked. I said that before.
Is that what it was? Is that what it is?
It only worked. It only worked on Boris because Boris could remove his dental bridge, suck his cheek in, so that Jack Pierce could apply some dark makeup.
Wow.
Okay, but this is what we're saying about Jack Pierce using a set way of applying makeup that you would never change regardless of who the actor is. Yeah. Oh, I need to put that little black dot on the cheek. Why? Because it's not going to work anymore. Because this guy's got teeth. He can't suck his cheek in and leave that hollow for you.
I didn't realise he'd got 3 people to play the part on that.
Yeah, Gil Perkins clearly in that scene. Gil Perkins in the fight scene. Ed Parker trapped in the ice. Pretty much coming towards. Not the end, because we're only in 1942, but then we had House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula.
Right. Okay.
So this was like the first monster mash, if you like.
Yeah.
We've had so many films over the years, haven't we? And featuring, but this is like the first monster mash in a sense that by this point, Glenn Stranger took on the role.
Yep.
Of the monster. Okay. I know every time I come in, you've got a piece, a Glenn Strange piece again. When are you going to finish that off? Because I want that.
Yeah. We've got a Glenn Strange. We acquired the rights of Rebel Resin a few years ago, and the way we have to do it is, God bless him, Tony. We never got any masters, so when we see a master, we grab it and we have to rework it and then remold it and try and get it to a standard that we're happy with. Now, this gentleman's driving me nuts about this bust, and I keep telling him I'm going to get it done, and it's never got done. So it will happen. I will show it you guys. It will come very soon. Glenn Stranger's the monster. It will be done.
Yeah, it might seem a bit odd as to why.
Would you say it's half scale or 1-to-1?
Yeah. It might seem a bit strange, right? I'm such a big Boris fan as the monster.
But you like Glenn Strange
for the performance, but for the physicality and the most imposing looking monster, that undoubtedly has to go to Glenn Strange. I mean, the guy was 6'5".
He looked bigger, didn't he? He physically looked bigger, didn't he?
Yeah. The guy was 6'5". So by the time he put the big boots on, he's pushing nearly 7 feet tall.
Bloody hell.
Well, certainly if you think about the extension that the rubber piece gave to his head, we're talking easily 7 foot by the time he got all that clobber on. Mm-hmm. Jack noticed. He'd seen him before. He played Butch Cavendish in the Lone Ranger.
Right.
In the early Lone Ranger. Again, another one. It came at a turn. In the 1920s. He was a rodeo rider.
Right.
Stuntman. It was his opposing size and his physicality, and the craggy face as well, which Jack.
He was more like Karloff when he did the other two. He got more Karloff-ish.
Yeah.
More Karloff-ish. The shape of his face. They kind of look like a bit chubbier, like a little
Exactly.
bit
Yeah.
fatter, don't
Yeah.
we?
Exactly.
A bit more healthier, shall we say?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's be polite.
Yeah.
Let's be kind.
He certainly got Boris's stamp of approval, because Boris played Dr. Gustav Niemann, who's like the mad scientist in House of Frankenstein, and when Glenn asked him for any particular coaching, tips on how to walk and how to present himself, he was more than happy to give advice on how he used to basically portray the creature and how he used to walk. I mean, how much. Sadly for Glenn, particularly in House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, he spends most of his time just strapped to like a table, like a stretcher type table. It straps over him. He only actually gets to break free and stumble about for a few minutes towards the end of both films, which is a bit disappointing, really, considering how physically imposing he was. Great picture here, signed, not original, of course. I mean, this is one that I printed off, but again, great picture of Jack working on Glenn, working on the scars on the wrist there, and you can see where he's done quite a fair bit on the head. This one actually, this is his last. This is the last makeup. This is for House of Dracula. This was the last makeup that Jack Pierce got to apply on any.
It's more Karloff-ish, isn't it?
Yeah,
more Karloff-ish,
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But again, a little beauty spot. I mean, it's not even where it should be. It's like it looks more like a Marilyn Monroe beauty spot.
And I'm gonna be blasphemous now towards you, Universal guys. It's a bit Herman Munsterish, isn't it? It's got a little bit Herman Munsterish on it.
Well, that's where Westmore comes in. We'll talk about Bud Westmore in a minute, because he took over from Jack Pierce.
It's got a bit Herman Munsterish on it. I think it's a kind of scary Herman Munster.
Yeah, the clock's ticking now. The clock's ticking, sadly, on Jack's time at Universal Studios. It's
nice.
Yeah. Okay, so we had a gap from when House of Frankenstein came back. It was becoming a little passé, with the Universal monsters. But Abbott and Costello were hot property.
Frankenstein.
Yeah, well, Abbott and Costello were hot property. They'd already done a film, basically, I think it featured ghosts, and one of the execs at Universal said, "Can we not bring the monsters back and do like a horror comedy?"
Yeah.
So we had Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
What's your opinion of that?
Awful.
Yeah.
For two reasons.
Go on.
Right. One, I could never get the humour of Abbott and Costello. To me, they were a poor man's Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Laurel and Hardy. We can do a video on them. I know it's not very relevant to what we do here, but we can do a video on them because I'm absolutely obsessed by Laurel and Hardy. Stan Laurel in particular. Yeah. Okay, one for the Brits. Yeah. Abbott and Costello. No, never got it. The American humour. You either get it, or you don't.
Yeah.
Laurel and Hardy were brilliant because everything was written by Stan Laurel. Yeah. So it was the English vaudeville kind of thing that he took over there. Right?
So it's sacrilege to you doing that.
Well, this is the thing with the monsters, but to be fair, and this is mind blowing. 17 years after Bela Lugosi first played Count Dracula, he comes back. And yes, it was a comedy. But the way he portrayed Dracula was with the same dignity.
It's exactly
the same dignity.
Yeah.
Okay. People kept saying, but Bela, dragging it out. But Bela, it's a comedy. He said, yes, but Dracula is not to be lampooned. And he would still play it, straight. Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay. I took it for what it was.
I can't stand that.
But did they do Mr. Hyde as well and the Invisible Man?
Yes. It started them all, and it kept Ed Parker in work because Ed Parker played the Mr. Hyde to Boris's Dr. Jekyll.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The film had its positives. Some brilliant special effects where we have this animation effect of the bat changing back into Dracula as he comes down. For 1948, that was brilliant. And imagine when you're a kid and you see that for the first time. Good, I mean, that was really, really good. The sad, tragic thing about this film is that Jack Pierce turns up his makeup studio.
Yeah.
I want to say a young guy sat in there, a young guy called Jack Cavan, sat in Jack's place of work. Who are you? Oh, hello, pleased to meet you. Are you Mr. Pierce? Yeah. Oh, well, my name's Jack Cavan. Well, why are you here? Oh, I'm waiting for Mr. Westmore. And this is basically what happened. Jack Pierce was not told that he was no longer required.
On the Abbott Costello.
Yeah. So he goes upstairs to the powers that be. Oh, sorry, didn't you get the letter? Didn't you get the communique? Well, no, I didn't. So he was effectively let go, fired on the spot. Wow. The reason why they could fire him after 20 years service is because he never signed a contract. Because he didn't feel the need to. Because, well, there's nobody else. I am the makeup man at Universal Pictures. Right. There is nobody else. Yeah. This is my domain. Yeah. So that kind of what you could perceive as arrogance was his downfall. Gosh. He never signed a contract in a 20-year period. Wow. Because nobody else was ever going to touch him. But there were whispers. The whispers had become louder and louder and louder because of his reluctance to use more modern techniques.
He's reluctant to change.
Yeah, reluctant to change, and that became his downfall. Didn't mean that he was out of work. He was picked up by a lot of TV studios into the 1960s. He worked on It's a Mad World. It's one of my favorite comedies. He did a lot of makeup effects for that film. The last time he actually got to appear with, and this is to round things off, guys, I'd love to do a kit of this as well. The last time he got to appear with Boris Karloff was in 1957. I ran out of ink, but I think it's quite poignant, really, and I'll explain why in a minute. Okay, this is 1957, the American version of This Is Your Life, where the programme started. Yeah. And on Boris's 70th birthday, they surprised him with This Is Your Life. Okay, now, as you know, the English version, which was done mainly when we were young by Eamon Holmes, okay, whoever they're telling the life story of would be sat there and a voice would come over. Now, the voice came over and Boris instantly recognised who the voice was. Okay, and it was Jack Pierce. Out comes Jack Pierce, and they stand there reminiscing and talking for a couple of minutes. Jack mentions all the hours that were spent, not only in the studio, but that Boris would make a point of going up to Jack's house and just sit in the backyard, discussing the makeup techniques that they were going to use for the monster. So the amount of time he would give up his time to go and discuss it and build up his rapport. The reason why Boris is looking down and smiling is because in his hand he's actually got a pair of the electrodes that were used by Jack when he applied the Frankenstein monster makeup. Oh. And the closing words from Boris there really were by saying to Jack, or just saying to the audience in general, this is the best makeup man in the world and I owe him a lot. Yeah. Okay. It's a pity that Lon Chaney Jr., who liked to refer to the Wolfman as his baby,
didn't show him the same
wouldn't have had that baby if it hadn't been for Jack Pierce. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I see this as Jack being left out in the cold. But in 1957, Boris, at the age of 70, is still hot property. Okay, and was able to remain active for another 10 plus years, making films. Okay. But he would not have got that start if it hadn't have been for this guy, which he always acknowledged.
Good.
You know, he always acknowledged. So that's pretty much.
You're a big fan, aren't you?
Yeah, no, you have to be. If you're going, guys. I mean, a lot of what I've said, you've probably heard before. I make no apologies for that. If you have heard it before, it just shows how many of us are invested in this. I've been invested in this since the early 70s when I watched those Universal Monster double bills at my nana's on BBC Two. I've been invested in it ever since then. Let's remember when we were. I know we always use that expression because a lot of people within what we're into are kind of at our age. We're kind of reliving a time when, you know, another generation before us would have been obsessed with the corgi cars.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But we weren't really old enough for them. We kind of missed the boat a little bit. These are like our corgi toys in a way. You know, I'm 60 in December, and I'm living up my life at the moment.
Loving it, aren't you?
Absolutely loving what I'm doing.
Well, I'll fetch you back down to earth now. Do you know in what year we are now?
try.
In 6 years' time,
Yeah.
the 80s will be 50 years ago. Wow, how scary is that? So time waits for no one, guys.
One thing I want to say for everybody who watches this video, and I hope we can bring in, you know, it's not for the old guys, it's not for the old, the older ladies.
Because I've got a list here of guys that we can talk about going forward.
Yeah.
Because you've got Dick Smith, Exorcist, Taxi Driver, Godfather. You've got my favourite, John Chambers, Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, interesting fact about him is he actually did Spock's ears. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
He did Doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then of course there's Stan Winston. He did some of the
Stan Winston. Yeah, Stan Winston. God bless him. Yeah.
So there are iconic makeup artists out there, and we thought we'd do this for you guys because this is where a lot of this guy Jack Pierce. That's just that I say. This guy, he designed the characters that you're painting. So bear that in mind. This gentleman here, Jack Pierce, with the help of the other guys, he did it in his mind with these characters. He seen it. So kudos to this guy. Kudos.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway, we hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll speak to you soon. We'll try and get him in again to do some more. He's very passionate about his Universal monsters. Loves it. It's lovely chatting to you again, Julian. We hope we'll see you again. I know last time a lot of guys commented and wanted me to fetch him back. I will fetch him back again. There is some other ones I'm talking about him doing, we're chatting about, and I hope it gives you some sort of insight into the inspiration behind that kit. So if you've got it on in the background and you're painting away and you're listening to us waffling away, kudos to you guys. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Let's get him back in again. You take care, guys.